Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel or our website. Reach out to me directly. It's in the description below, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. And today we're discussing a 2017 launch, really a revival of a long-running icon from Girard-Perregaux. This is the Laureato 42 millimeters in stainless steel. It recalls the 1975 original, which itself predated the Nautilus, among other famed 1970s integrated sports watch designs. So this is an original by a company that was there at the time and staked its claim to founding status in this genre. And the watch is a wonderful reprise of the best features of the older Laureatos. 42 millimeters in stainless steel. It's only 11.1 millimeters thick as I measure it, and from lug to lug 49 millimeters across the wrist. So this 2017 launch looks flat, flush, and contemporary as it draws on the best of Girard-Perregaux sports watch history. The timepiece is easy to wear, not just because it's relatively thin, though it is. You can see the cuff shot. It generously accommodates even tight sleeves. When you look over the top, you realize that it's not terribly broad across the wrist, but where it does flare out, it also curves. This down the barrel shot shows how tightly curved the lugs are. So it already starts to lead itself around the edge of your wrist, and if you're borderline wristed, and I'd say borderline size for this watch is about 14 centimeters and up, and you're good. But it helps to arc around your wrist to create a more handsome conformity of case to anatomy. Now rolling into the bracelet, you can see it's a good looking piece. It is integrated, so you have that taper that flares at the lugs and continues unabated into the flare of the lug hood. We have polished intermediates. There's more than a little bit of Nautilus to these polished intermediates and large H-section primary flanking links. You can see that the bracelet is fixed in place by screws, so the removable links are held in place by screws. That's in contrast to, for example, Patek Philippe's use of pin sleeves, so you can easily size this one at home with a screwdriver. You can see there's a twin trigger stainless steel double deployant clasp, so both sides fold, they are sequential. The GP logo goes down second, and this gives you security against droppage while donning or removing at bedside. You have to press both triggers to pop it open. The finishing is to a high grade. As you can see, the flanks are satin finished. There's a lovely transitional bevel along the sides of the primary links, and then the case itself continues that bevel from end to end. Though the case flanks are satin and the lug hoods are satin, note that the lug hoods are satin in transverse fashion, and then the flanks are satinated in longitudinal fashion with that lovely polished bevel running the length of the case on both sides. The crown is a screw-down unit with Girard-Perregaux logo, and you can see, like the bezel itself, there is a outer face to the crown that is shaped identically in the geometric, almost tool-adjacent pattern that you'll find on the bezel. And when I call it tool-adjacent, I mean that unlike the Nautilus or the Royal Oak, the bezel of this watch is a structural component that helps to compress the seals and ensure the water resistance. So there is a tool for Girard-Perregaux watchmakers that will mate with this bezel and then screw it out of its threaded sleeve in the case. The fact that the bezel itself is both a design element and a structural sealing element sets this watch apart both in aesthetics and in engineering from the likes of the Nautilus and the Royal Oak. So you can see the bezel is handsome with a polished plinth underneath that's part of the rotating component. The outer faces of the geometric faceting are also polished, and there's a lovely polished bevel along the lip. And then there is a concentric circular brushing or satination surrounding the crystal itself. So it's a good look, a strong look, and a distinctively unique look. The dial is blue metallic, usually the choice of consumers for this type of watch. All of the indices are applique, and they actually sit in little dial foot slots underneath on the guilloche dial. So it's an upscale dial with a lovely pyramid hobnail at the center. You can see that the seconds and minutes track outboard has been raised. It has its own metallic blue finish. And then there is a black date disc that has a wonderfully whimsical font, and I'm going to roll through a few of these dates. Let me just make sure I'm not in the danger zone there, and you see that's why I always do that. You can see the watch features both hacking seconds and a quick set date, and there are some numerals such as the open 9 and the serifs of the 1s and the 2s and the 4s that are quite attractive, and the typeface and the font used for the date disc is a quiet highlight of this watch that's full of surprise and delight elements. Now turn the watch over, and this was the greatest surprise to me. 100 meters water resistant, but it's not the case that catches my eye. It's the fact that we're moving away from the old Girard-Perregaux 3000 series calibers from the 90s. This is caliber 1800. It has a longer power reserve at 54 hours versus 46 of the old movements. It's also much larger and designed to fit contemporary case backs. It still beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It has stop seconds, a quick set date. It has 28 pivot jewels. It has gorgeous bridge work. As you can see, the beveling on the edge of these bridges is blindingly broad and mirrored. Truly great stuff right there, with perfectly aligned linear Côte de Genève across the bridges, circular across the rotor. You can see more of that mirrored beveling on the edge of the rotor. There's a large engine turning on the base plate, and the 1800 being a bigger movement, it nicely fills this case back. You can also see that with the use of Etikron for adjustment, this watch has the potential, I should say, to be adjusted very, very precisely. That's what you like to see. The best of hardware, beautifully executed, and all of the screw heads are black polished. A good-looking watch inside and out, and an all-arounder for the present day from a company that was there with the Laureato back in the 70s. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Laureato 42. Plenty of lume from the Laureato 42 by night.